नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वर्ड बुक सीरीज। तो दोस्तों, आज है 7th of March 2025, द टाइम ऑफ द रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ दिस वीडियो। आज मैं एक्चुअली आप लोगों के साथ बात करने वाला हूं अबाउट द हिस्टोरिक स्पीच ऑफ शेख मुजीबुर रहमान। यस, दिस पिक्चर स्पेशली दैट यू कैन सी ऑन टॉप, जहां पे उन्होंने डिक्लेयर किया था आजादी। यस, इट वाज अ डायरेक्ट डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस फ्रॉम पाकिस्तानी मिलिट्री रूल which ultimately culminated into the independence movement from East Pakistan to Bangladesh. अवामी लीग और शेख मुजीबुर रहमान जब मेजॉरिटी में हो गए थे इन द नेशनल असेंबली इलेक्शंस ऑफ पाकिस्तान इन 1970, him being the total victorious with his party in that election, he was denied his rightful position as Prime Minister of Pakistan. ये देख के Bengalis of East Pakistan rose up in rebellion and they decided to start a non-cooperation movement against Pakistan, especially the Pakistani military administration. This was led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman himself, and his historic speech on the 7th of March 1971 led many people to come to the cause of the independence struggle, to take up arms and fight the Pakistani military if needed for their own self-proclamation and independence, to become a rightful legitimate state which will be separate from Pakistan, out from Pakistani suppression. तो आज मैं वो स्पीच को डायरेक्टली रिसाइट करूंगा, and though it was made in complete Bengali, but I will recite it in English so that the speech can be understood by everybody. UNESCO has recognized this historical speech as a mark of the independence struggle of Bangladesh. So chaliye, let me recite the speech in English made by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on the 7th of March 1971. My dear brothers, I have come before you today with a heavy heart. All you know how hard we have tried, but it is a matter of sadness that the streets of Dhaka, Chittagong, Khulna, Rangpur and Rajshahi are today being spattered with the blood of my brothers, and the cry we hear from the Bengali people is a cry for freedom, a cry for survival, a cry for our rights. You are the ones who brought about an Awami League victory so you could see a constitutional government restored. The hope was that the elected representatives of the people sitting in the National Assembly would formulate a constitution that would assure that people of their economic, political and cultural emancipation. But now, with great sadness in my heart, I look back on the past 23 years of our history and see nothing but a history of the shedding of the blood of the Bengali people. Ours has been a history of continual lamentation, repeated bloodshed and innocent tears. We gave blood in 1952. We won a mandate in 1954, but we were still not allowed to take up the reins of this country. In 1958, Ayub Khan clamped martial law on our people and enslaved us for the next 10 years. In 1966, during the 6-point movement of the masses, many were the young men and women whose lives were stilled by government bullets. After the downfall of Ayub, Mr. Yahya Khan took over the promise that he would restore constitutional rule, that he would restore democracy and return power to the people. We agreed, but you all know of the events that took place after that. I ask you, are we the ones to blame? As you know, I have been in contact with President Yahya Khan. As leader of the majority party in the National Assembly, I asked him to set February 15 as the day for its opening session. He did not accede to the request I made as leader of the majority party. Instead, he went along with the delay requested by the minority leader, Mr. Bhutto, and announced that the assembly would be convened on the 3rd of March. We accepted that, agreed to join the deliberations. I even went to the extent of saying that we, despite our majority, would still listen to any sound ideas from the minority, even if it were a lone voice. I committed myself to the support of anything to bolster the restoration of our constitutional government. When Mr. Bhutto came to Dhaka, we met, we talked. He left, saying that the doors to negotiation were still open. Maulana Noorani and Maulana Mufti were among those West Pakistan parliamentarians who visited Dhaka and talked with me about an agreement on a constitutional framework. I made it clear that we could not agree to any deviation from the 6-point movement. That right rested with the people. Come, I said, let us sit down and resolve matters. But Bhutto's retort was that he would not allow himself to become hostage on two fronts. He predicted that if any West Pakistani members of parliament were to come to Dhaka, the assembly would be turned into a slaughterhouse. He added that if anyone were to participate in such a session, a countrywide agitation would be launched from Peshawar to Karachi, and that whatever businesses would be shut down in protest. I assured him that the assembly would be convened, and despite the dire threats, West Pakistani leaders did come down to Dhaka. But suddenly on March 1st, the session was cancelled. There was an immediate outcry against this move by the people. I called for a hartal as a peaceful form of protest, and the masses took to the streets in response. And what did we get as a response? He turned his guns on my helpless people, a people with no arms to defend themselves. These were the same arms that had been purchased with our own money to protect us from external enemies. But it is my own people who are being fired upon today. In the past too, each time we, the numerically larger segment of Pakistan's population, tried to assert our rights and control our destiny, they conspired against us and pounced upon us. I have asked them this before. How can you make your own brothers the target of your bullets? Now Yahya Khan says that I had agreed to a round table conference on the 10th. Let me point out that this is not true. I had said, Mr. Yahya Khan, you are the president of this country. Come to Dhaka. Come and see how our poor Bengali people have been mowed down by your bullets. How the laps of our mothers and sisters have been robbed and left empty and bereft. How my helpless people have been slaughtered. Come, I said, come and see for yourself and then be the judge and decide. That is what I told him. Earlier, I had told him there would be no round table conference. What round table conference? Whose round table conference? You expect me to sit at a round table conference with the very same people who have emptied the laps of my mothers and my sisters. On the 3rd, at Pulton, I called for a non-cooperation movement and the shutdown of offices, courts and the revenue collection. You all gave me full support. Then suddenly, without consulting me or even informing us, he had a meeting for 5 hours, after which he made a speech in which he put all the blame on me, laid all the faults at the doors of the Bengali people. The deadlock was created by Bhutto, yet the Bengalis are the ones facing the bullets. We face their guns, yet it's our fault. We are the ones being bit by the bullets, and it's still our fault. So I've told them that the struggle this time is a struggle for emancipation. The struggle this time is a struggle for independence. Brothers, they have now called for the assembly on March 25, with the streets not yet dry of the blood of my brothers. You have called the assembly, but you must first agree to meet my demands. Martial law must be withdrawn. The soldiers must return to their barracks. The murderers of my people must be redressed, and power must be handed over to the elected representatives of the people. Only then will we consider if we can take part in the National Assembly or not. Before these demands are met, there can be no question of our participation in this session of the Assembly. That is one right not given to me as part of my mandate from the masses. As I told them earlier, Mujibur Rahman refuses to walk to the Assembly treading upon the fresh stains of his brother's blood. Do you, my brothers, have complete faith in me? Let me tell you that the Prime Ministership is not what I seek. What I want is justice, the rights of the people of this land. They tempted me with the Prime Ministership, but they failed to buy me over, nor did they succeed in hanging me on the gallows, for you rescued me with your blood from the so-called conspiracy case. That day, right here at this race course, I had pledged to you that I would pay for this blood debt with my own blood. Do you remember? I am ready today to fulfill that promise. I now declare the closure of all courts, offices, and educational institutions for an indefinite period of time. No one will report to their offices. That is my instruction to you. So that the poor are not inconvenienced, rickshaws, trains, and other transport will ply normally except serving any needs of the armed forces. If the army does not respect this, I shall not be responsible for the consequences. The Secretariat, Supreme Court, High Court, Judges Court, and government and semi-government offices shall remain shut. Only banks can be opened for 2 hours daily for business transactions, but no money shall be transmitted from East to West Pakistan. The Bengali people must stay calm during these times. Telegraph and telephone communications will be confined within Bangladesh. The people of this land are facing elimination, so be on guard. If need be, we will bring everything to a total standstill. Collect your salaries on time. If the salaries are held up, if a single bullet is fired upon us henceforth, if the murder of my people does not cease, I call upon you to turn every home into a fortress against their onslaught. Use whatever you can. Put your hands onto everything to confront this enemy. Every last road must be blocked. We will deprive them of food. We will deprive them of water. If I am not around to give you the orders, and if my associates are also not to be found, I ask you to continue your movement unabated. I say to them again, you are my brothers. Return now to the barracks where you belong, and no one will bear any hostility towards you. Only do not attempt to aim any more bullets at our hearts. It will not do any good, and the 7 million people of this land will not be cowed down by you or accept suppression anymore. The Bengali people have learned how to die for a cause, and you will not be able to bring them under your yoke of suppression. To assist the families of the martyred and the injured, the Awami League has set up committees that will do all they can. Please donate whatever you can. Also, employers must give full pay to the workers who participated in the 7 days of Hartal or were not able to work because of curfews. To all government employees, I say that my directives must be followed. I had better not see any of you attending your offices. From today, until this land has been freed, no taxes will be paid to the government anymore. But be careful. Keep in mind that the enemy has infiltrated our ranks to engage in the work of provocators. Whether Bengali or non-Bengali, Hindu or Muslim, all are our brothers, and it is our responsibility to ensure their safety. I also ask you to stop listening to the radio, television and the press if these medias do not report news of our movement. To them, I say, you are our brothers. I beseech you to not turn this country into a living hell. If we can peacefully settle our differences, there is still hope that we can coexist as brothers. Otherwise, there is no hope. If you choose the other path, we may never come face to face once again. For now, I have just one thing to ask of you. Give up any thoughts of enslaving this country under military rule again. I ask my people to immediately set up committees under the leadership of the Awami League to carry on our struggle in every neighborhood, village, union and subdivision of this land. You must prepare yourselves with what little you have for the struggle ahead. Since we have given blood, we will give more of it. But by the grace of God, we will free the people of this land. The struggle this time is for emancipation. The struggle this time is for independence. Be ready. We cannot afford to lose our momentum. Keep the movement and the struggle alive, because if we fall back, they will come down hard upon us. Be disciplined. No nation's movement can be victorious without discipline. Joy Bangla. I think I didn't go as much strongly as how Sheikh Mujib must have gone with his fiery Bengali speech. This is just a mere translation. लेकिन ये स्पीच सुन के बहुत सारे फॉर्मर मुक्ति बाहिनी फाइटर्स, बहुत सारे आम आदमी इतना जोश में आ गए थे that after Operation Searchlight started, hundreds of thousands of people took up arms against these Pakistani soldiers and officers. अब सोचिए, इतना fiery speech. I mean, if you have heard this speech on YouTube or anywhere else, the English speech and translation is nothing compared to it. It gives the josh to spring up against any kind of tyranny. आज इस स्पीच का एनिवर्सरी है, 54th एनिवर्सरी. हम दिल से उनको बोलते हैं, the first man to ignite the spirit of resistance against Pakistan. आज बांग्लादेश का हालत डिफरेंट है. बांग्लादेश disowns these values and these ethos, but I think situations will change and Bangladesh will come back to what it was, believing in the spirit of 1971, believing in the spirit of the 7th of March, the fiery speech that gave birth to a new nation. Thank you all for listening.